So another Duggar has been arrested, and a lot of us aren't really that surprised. You see, the Duggars have always been very big on modesty, and they've always been very big on purity.
Whenever we go swimming or go somewhere to be in the water, we try to stay covered the way that we feel comfortable with, and so being modest is very important to us. And so we realize that there's going to be others with different, preferences in swim clothes. Anytime that you're in love and you're together, you're always, having to realize you want to show your love and affection, but when you've purposed to keep those protections in your life, then you always have to, remember and then have that accountability.
And I'm really starting to think that of all the dangerous things that evangelical Christianity has given the world, purity culture might be the most dangerous. Hey everybody, thank you so much for liking and subscribing and commenting and all the other awesome stuff you do. I have been very busy lately. I have decided to move during one of the busiest times of my life. I just decided that I wanted to be in a different apartment and be in a different part of town. So I'm in the process of doing that and figuring that out right now. All the applications, getting all my documents together, all that fun stuff. So here we go. I'm in the process. Wish me luck. Also, me and my friends have been working on a new channel. I'm going to tell you the name of it right now. It's Believe It or Not, Why Do You Care? Hey everybody, I'm Trevor from Believe It or Not, and we're trying this new thing where I talk to awesome people about why they're awesome and why they care. I keep getting this sarcastic question, why do you care? You don't believe in God, so why would you care about what Christians do? So I thought I would switch that around and ask that sincerely. Why do people care?
I care about the weirdos. I care about the people who don't necessarily fit in with the dominant culture.
Part of it, honestly, is catharsis. Catharsis for the issues that you dealt with, the things that you believe that you no longer believe. Catharsis for dealing with trauma.
I care because I feel like there's a burning building and I want to get as many people as I can out of it.
The United States is supposed to be a free country where you're allowed to have freedom from religion.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I know. It doesn't really seem like it, but it feels like we're slowly losing that, and it's getting worse and worse every day, and it really concerns me, so I care a lot.
I'm very excited about it. I put the link in the description if you want to subscribe early. What?
So,
are you gonna say something?
Purity. We're talking about purity today. We've been waiting for this one, huh? Yeah, we've been waiting and they've been waiting.
We are talking about purity today, but because we're adults, we're not going to be fucking weird about it. The thing is, you don't really hear the word purity a lot in this modern culture. I mean, there's a few places, like drug dealers are going to talk about the purity of their product.
What I'm doing here is measuring the purity.
Racists are going to talk about the purity of their race.
We're going to fight for God's will for racial purity.
The film was the psychological underpinning of the Führer's plan for racial purity.
This Nivea ad, for some reason, seems to align with that last one. And then you hear the word purity a lot when Christians talk about sex.
There's only one way to be totally safe, and that's abstinence and purity.
What does that mean, purity? How can I stay pure? That means you're being set aside for God.
I mean, sanctified, consecrated would more imply being set apart or being set aside for God. Purity is more about your actions, your deeds, and kind of about your worth. Purity is about what has been done to you.
That means you're living for Him and nothing else. That means that you're not allowing the dirty stuff or the things of the world to contaminate.
Oh, she loved to dirty talk. Totally into it. She'd be like, yeah, Let's screw.
Ultimately, sexual purity is about reflecting God's values and living a life that glorifies Him.
Virginity is a gift you'll give to your spouse. Virginity is only till you get married.
Virginity is a construct. It's certainly not a gift.
The moment you get married, virginity is no more. But purity, sexual purity, is not till marriage. Sexual purity is for eternity.
But it's only in the area of sexuality that they even consider the possibility that someone could obtain this quote-unquote purity. In any other area of life, they will say that no one can be perfect, everyone is evil, everyone is broken, we live in a fallen world, so nobody can be good. Our works are all but filthy rags. But when it comes to this one area, the standard they're looking for is full purity. Untarnished, without spot or wrinkle.
You walk around making decisions like that where you're dishonoring God in your life, that you'll be one of the most miserable people in the world, because it's way worse to be a pursuer of God who doesn't honor God than to be someone who doesn't care about God and doesn't honor God. Does that make sense? So if you want to have a life free of guilt and shame in your life, then honor God in the area of sexual purity.
The only reason that guilt and shame exist in this area is because, as a Christian, you are told that you should feel ashamed and that you should feel bad. You are told that sex is dirty, that sex is wrong, that sex is a huge crime against God and yourself, and that you should feel bad about wanting sex, thinking about sex, having sex, and enjoying sex. And then you are told that the evidence that it's bad is that you feel shame and guilt.
You know, our culture is so anti-shame and so anti-guilt, and I'm not saying that shame and guilt and condemnation are good things, but there are certain things that naturally you say, I'm not proud of this.
Well, it depends on what you mean by proud. If being proud of it means that you're flashing people in public or doing sexual activities in public without the consent of the public that's watching, then no, you should not be proud of it. But doing an activity that is fun, that is in private, an activity that is known to reduce your risk of cancer, no, it's not something to be ashamed of. The reason people are trying to let you know that it's not something to be ashamed of or feel guilty about is because it's one of the most natural things about being human. And it's a very natural part about being a teenager. You're going through hormonal changes. You're understanding your body in a new way. And the teenage years are already spent having so much awkwardness, so much embarrassment, and so much shame that we don't need to add more shame onto that.
Sure. And so our culture is trying to flip it and say, oh, no, it's fine. But deep inside, most people know that intimacy is to be shared with another person. Yeah. It's not just to be self-sex. So what are some of the things that you practically did to guard your sexuality? What are some of the practical things? That sounds like there's a vision, but what are some of the practical steps you guys took? I know we talked real openly with you guys.
Yeah, no, I'll share something. I would go to the bathroom. This is going to sound weird. I go to the bathroom with the door open.
Yeah.
I know. I'd always go. We all just be sitting there, right? So I would go.
Don't go to the bathroom with the door open.
Listen, did I find it funny to pee with the door open when I still had roommates? Yes, I did. But do I think it's probably not very healthy for a teenager to think that the only way to protect his soul is to go to the bathroom with the door open? Also, yes, that's probably not very healthy. It's good to have privacy sometimes. It's good to know that you're allowed to be alone sometimes. And it's good to understand your body. You don't naturally feel guilt and shame for having sexual desires. That shame has to be instilled in you.
Because sexual immorality kills everything that it touches.
So those harsh words are obviously based on nothing.
And you do not take it as seriously as you probably should. Now, this is why I want to get into this. When I even use the word sexual immorality, that's a word that gets used all throughout the Bible. And I want to show you this. When you see sexual immorality in your Bible, the Greek word that's getting translated, I've got it on the screen. It's the Greek word, I want you to see it, porneia. Porneia. That's the word that gets translated sexual immorality. As you're probably picking up, that's the word from which we get the English word. Here's what this word means. Now, here's what it means. It means it's a junk drawer term in Judaism that refers to any sexual expression outside of God's Genesis 2 ideal for all sexual expression to happen within the confines of covenant marriage. So,
nope, that's not it. If there was a junk drawer term that simply meant any sexual encounter outside of the confines of marriage, there wouldn't need to also be a list of sexual rules in the Old Testament. But the Bible has a list of rules like don't sleep with your mom, don't sleep with your stepmom, don't sleep with animals, don't do gay stuff, don't commit adultery. But adultery, in that case, was only when a man slept with a married woman or when a married woman slept with someone other than her husband. Men could sleep around. Married men could sleep with concubines, with non-married women who were not betrothed or not still her father's property. Men were allowed to have many wives. Men were also expected to have sex with their brother's widow in order to keep their brother's line going. It's definitely not a catch-all term for whatever Josh Howerton thinks is gross.
Know God. You have eyes to see and ears to hear. And God tells us the why because the knowledge of what this is can open your eyes to the reality of how extreme this is and how those who walk by the flesh will not inherit the beautiful, perfect, and everlasting kingdom of God.
You don't deserve hell for bumping uglies.
It also tells us that anyone who practices sin is a slave to sin, and you don't need to be a slave to sin any longer. This sin is different than any other sin in the Bible because it's the only sin where we sin against our own bodies.
So already if the focus is just on your own body, then we have a problem.
And he's making it so clear that sexual sin is literally the worst sin that you can do against yourself. It's the only sin that is against your own body, and it is so harmful to you.
And don't get me wrong, we should care about our bodies. We should care about what happens to our bodies. We should care about what we do with our bodies. We should want to be respected. We should want to be loved.
Respect. R-E-S-P-C-T. Find out what it means to me.
But the problem with simply saying that it's wrong because it's the only sin against our own bodies is that there is no emphasis then on why it's important to respect another person's body. The reason we see a difference between touching your own bathing suit area in private or engaging in consenting sexual activity and things like voyeurism and sexual assault is because it is important to understand that we need to respect other people's bodies and other people's boundaries and other people's well-being. But this type of thinking frames the individual's body as the most important, if not only thing to consider when deciding on what we do sexually. It frames watching videos in your room and touching a child in the same light. All sexual sin is equal, and they are very rarely viewed differently in these circles. When I did a video about why the church is a safe place for predators, I had these clips that show that these people really think that there is no difference between hurting a child and other things they call sexual sins.
Isn't this the gospel? It's exactly what it is. But isn't this really the gospel? We give this lip service as Christians. We deserve death. Mm-hmm. I'm a sinner, right? I'm covered in the blood of Christ, and man, right. But I'm not that bad.
Right. We grade on a curve. So you could go to a state penitentiary and have the frauds and the embezzlers and the burglars and the bank robbers and the murderers saying to one another, but at least I'm not that sex offender.
Yeah.
I even if, again, have you ever done anything in your life, in your entire life?
Well, not with
wicked?
Children. No, come on.
Not with children? So that's the dividing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Fiddling with children's not good.
Some people like to look at one particular sin and to justify theirs. How about with other women? Have you ever slept with a woman you weren't married to?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
It's
well, that's in the Big Ten Commandments. Don't commit adultery.
The thinking is that if you teach that it's worse to do one sexual sin than another sexual sin, you might be implying that one sexual sin is okay. So you just say it's all bad, don't do any of it. You don't teach about consent. You don't teach about other people's bodies. You don't teach about boundaries. And you don't teach about why it's important to understand how the other person feels. So then if you're already doing one sexual sin and you'll be forgiven for it, what's the difference if you move on to another sexual sin? It's the same thing in their eyes.
Here's something Christians will say that is not true. You'll hear Christians say, hey, all sin is the same. All sin's the same. All sin is equal. It's just sin is sin. That's what they'll say. Actually, that's not what the Bible says. 1 Corinthians 6 says this, I'm just gonna read it to you. It says, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body. But whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. It's saying this sin actually is different. It's different in the consequences. It's different in the shame that it can bring. It's different in the condemnation the enemy heaps. So it's saying all sin is equally wrong, but not all sins are equally damaging. And this sin, you must understand from the scriptures, it's disproportionately damaging when you give yourself to it.
Understand that lust has a purpose.
To keep the human race going, because without it, we would go extinct. It's also really fun, and we know that it's a natural urge that we can explain scientifically.
The purpose of lust is to get you off of your God-given purpose, of the God-given destiny that God has given to you in your life. The purpose of lust is to make you comfortable, is to make you satisfied, is to make you content with where you are in your life. All right? And when lust comes, it is a direct attack on you spiritually, and it is a direct attack on your Father in heaven, God. It is a direct attack against Him. And every time we give into lust, we are giving into the wicked ways of Satan. Every time we give into lust, we are giving into the wicked ways of Satan.
So we know that it's a natural urge. We know the scientific reason for it. So then the only natural conclusion then is that Satan helped create us. This is a part of our biology, so Satan must have had a say in how we were designed?
In 1946, the inventor of the bikini could not find a lady who would model his design, so he had to hire a stripper.
Not a stripper. Oh, the humanity.
Answer this. What kind of woman will wear a bikini, also known as bra and panties, out in public? A, B, or C?
If the only way you know how to shame women is to also shame sex workers, then you already have no argument.
You see, a woman is supposed to carry herself with godly humility and modesty, both in attitude and appearance, like the Bible says.
Both in attitude and appearance. Dress how we want you to dress, behave how we want you to behave. Don't forget, Christ is the only way to find true freedom.
Now, I'm not a girl, but the Bible tells women to dress modestly and with decency. Your heart should be focused on God. And 1 Peter says, your beauty shouldn't come from outward appearance, but instead from a gentle and quiet spirit. So modesty isn't just about hiding your body, it's about revealing your character.
Again, dress how I say, act how I say, be gentle, don't ruffle feathers.
In a society that often equates fashion with identity, when we embrace modesty as Christian women, it can be a powerful statement of our faith. Modesty reflects a deeper understanding of our value, rooted in God's love for us.
The way you dress does not affect or reflect your value. You shouldn't judge someone for wearing more clothing any more than you should judge someone for wearing less. It's about their comfort levels. It's about what gives them confidence, what makes them feel comfortable. What you wear is not a statement about your value in any way. But that is never how it's framed in their world. The less you cover up, the less self-worth you must have.
Let's set the example for other women how much power there is in dressing worthy of honor and respect.
Your dignity, your value, your worth has nothing to do with your clothing.
Modesty still matters, and no, that's not legalism. That is Bible. We live in a culture that says dress however you want. If you got it, flaunt it. And you know what? Men should just look away. It's their problem, not mine. And all of that sounds spiritual.
I don't know if it sounds spiritual, but it's just the way it is.
But it's not biblical. Yes, men are 100% responsible for their lust. Jesus makes that clear. Lust is a sin no matter what a woman is wearing. And some men would lust after a woman even if she was wearing a turtleneck or a burqa. That's a heart problem. But acknowledging male responsibility does not erase female responsibility when it comes to modesty. Scripture never says, because others are going to sin anyway, obedience doesn't matter. No. God calls women to dress with modesty and self-control, and he calls believers not to put stumbling blocks in front of others.
See, that is the main argument about why someone should dress modestly, is because men are made to feel like garbage if they have any sexual attraction. So we don't blame the preachers who make them feel like garbage. We don't blame the teachers or the parents who make them feel that way about this natural thing. We blame women for not covering up their scandalous parts. And yes, now that they've been called out for it enough, they sometimes sandwich it by saying it doesn't let men off the hook, but then they still go on to blame women.
Any man that lusts after you will answer to God for his mental adultery. But you will answer to God if you've provoked it by the manner in which you are dressed.
It is gravely wrong to intend to dress a certain way that's going to cause people to sin. But I think we also need to realize that it's not just about intention. You could still be dressing immodestly without intending to cause harm to people.
The Bible talks about even believers causing other believers to stumble. And I know many people might be like, well, I'm not going to take other people's problems onto myself. I'm going to challenge you to reconsider calling yourself a true Christian, because the Bible says, in fact, we are to consider others above ourselves. At the end of the day, when it comes to truly spending time with the Lord, I will say, at least for myself, I want to look like the way that he treats me.
The thing is, this is a bigger problem for Christian men than most other men. Because with Christian men, they don't have an outlet. Looking at naked ladies on the internet is wrong. Touching their bathing suit area is wrong. Sleeping with their girlfriend is wrong. So anything they do see just gets amplified in their mind. Even a passing thought is a huge sin, so they start focusing on it. Then they feel guilty about it. Then they feel angry about it. And then they blame that woman.
I'm not even supposed to be here. I hope I don't jack off.
What is this, Reggie?
I guess it's like a viral video where Bozo dubs over.
So they build a world where a natural desire gets turned into a toxic cycle of shame, guilt, and hate, and then they frame the clothing that makes somebody feel confident or comfortable or cooler as a planned attack on them.
Because he loves and because he loves us. He's like, I don't want you to get bad attention, and I don't want you to make your brother stumble, my girl. Yeah. You're about to be with your brother in Christ, and you're gonna about make him stumble. Yeah. It's true.
I don't know. There's something about that that's giving patriarchy.
To be honest, because it's giving, like, no one's talking about this. Like, it's giving big sister energy where we just...
Because it's giving dad.
No, it's giving dad.
I don't know, but it's giving, like, it's giving fitted, but not like I'm showing everything.
It's giving lust.
Yeah.
Like, it's giving that energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's giving very, like, lust about me, look at my body. Do not trust your feelings. It's giving Emmy more faith over feelings.
It's giving, like, more special now.
It's giving, like, other half. You know, like, my better other half.
You're not looking to see if this guy texted you or ghosted you. Like, it's giving peace.
No, it's giving radiant. It's giving Jesus.
Whoa.
It wasn't
sheer or transparent clothing. Leaves nothing to the imagination.
And there were 3 women standing individually in front of me. They weren't part of a group. They were just successively in line in front of me. And every single one of them was wearing leggings, the kind that left basically nothing to the imagination.
That must have been hard for you to relive that.
And you'd be surprised that this is just enough mystery for a man. I would argue that men are desiring mystery because there is none anymore.
When you frame it as leaving nothing to the imagination or keeping it a mystery, you are saying that either way, that person's going to be pictured naked. Either way, the point is to imagine a naked body. Either way, he is sexualizing you. It shows that lust is going to happen regardless of what a woman wears, that men are just blaming women because they like having someone to blame.
Adultery is just the tip of the iceberg for lust, and it's all rooted in seeing people as objects.
Simply having a sexual desire towards someone does not automatically mean that you see them as an object.
Not only you desiring someone and objectifying them, like seeing them as an object of your pleasure.
And of course, the main issue with framing every sexual desire as objectifying someone is that it erases what it actually means to objectify someone. When somebody is being used as or seen as an object, it means they have no value in that person's eye. besides the sexual gratification they will give. It means they don't care about how that person feels or what their needs are. And quite often it means degrading them, and not in a kink way, but in like an asshole way.
It's also having the desire to make them objectify you as an object of their pleasure. It's both. It's both and. It's I want to use them as an object of my pleasure, and I want them to use me as an object of their pleasure too.
It's also ironic because these are the same people who will be so quick to compare people to objects to make their point.
You are like a beautiful little flower that God has handpicked, either for himself if you're called to celibacy, or for another man if you're called to the married life. And ultimately, the fullness of the beauty that he created you to have should not be gazed upon by just anybody, but only that person that he's handpicked for you.
That is literally objectifying. She is saying that a woman is an object that will be given as a gift to a man, and it's best if it's untouched. Most of purity culture is simply harking back to the idea that young virgins are a valued commodity. It's the reason in the Bible a woman would have to marry her sexual assaulter, because he decreased her value. So his punishment is that he has to pay her father the money he would have made, and then he has to take her as his wife because she no longer has value to her family. At that time, it was a prestige thing. Rich men would pay extra for a young virgin and then do what they could to ensure that no other man touches her, as a way to ensure that whatever child she bore was definitely his. This is also why, in the Bible, a woman could be stoned to death if she did not bleed on her wedding night, even though we know that not everyone who hasn't had sex bleeds the first time they have sex. And I talked about this idea in a previous video about how it's all based around wanting to make sure that my child is mine. And someone said, well, what's so wrong with that? What's so wrong with wanting to make sure that your child is your child? Okay, first of all, just find somebody you trust. Be with somebody you trust. Have a partner that you trust. You don't have to buy a virgin for that. Also, it's the 21st century, and if you aren't sure if that child is yours, you can do a paternity test. But because these people are reading rules from the Bronze Age and applying them to today, they talk about women being a precious flower that should not be damaged. There's also the classic chewed gum analogy, where someone who loses their virginity is like chewed gum, and who would want that? Or they put tape on you and then unstick it and stick it to the next person until it loses its stickiness, and say that's what you're like if you have sex with multiple people. It's all disgusting. And it's all framing those people in those examples as objects.
Way to hog all the girls, Jeff. You know, when there's 3 sprinkled donuts, you don't eat one and then lick another.
Anyone object to us being referred to as donuts? No one?
And then there is this disgusting take.
If it's not for public consumption, then why is it being made so excessively available to strangers in public? It would be like me saying, this is my watch. I really like my watch. I care about it. It's for me and my use only. Nobody else is allowed to use it or take it. It's just for me alone. But then I go and leave it somewhere lying around in public.
So in this clip, he's still talking about women wearing tights at the grocery store.
How can I possibly fault someone if they just walked away with it as if it was theirs?
Wow. See, in this day and age, we call that blaming the victim. How can I fault someone if they do what they want to a woman because she's wearing tights? Oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, he frames it as just staring, but that analogy can go so much further.
It's my fault for leaving it exposed in public. I didn't want strangers or people I don't trust to claim it for their own, therefore I shouldn't expose it for their taking in public. If you think it's wrong for strangers to stare at your posterior, and from what I can tell, that is the case with most women, then there's an amazingly simple solution. Don't make it available for their visual consumption.
Yeah, but staring at anyone is weird, right? Staring at any part of anybody is weird. Why do you want to stare? So I don't know how tall Brian here is. I'm 6 feet tall. Most women I encounter are shorter than me. Therefore, my eye line rarely aligns with somebody's butt. If it does, like if I'm sitting and they stand up, there are usually plenty of places I can look besides looking at their butt. But the creepiest thing you can do when you see a woman in tights is to make a video about how tights are infringing on your freedoms.
When I went shopping that day, I didn't ask for the responsibility of protecting the privacy of all the women standing in front of me. That should have been their responsibility when they got dressed that morning. But instead, it somehow becomes my responsibility to not look at them and to stare at the ground, which seems like a much bigger infringement upon someone's freedom and liberty.
Know my rights, man.
You don't know shit, Lebowski.
Again, we talk about freedoms like freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and freedom of mobility as intrinsic rights. But what about the freedom to be able to open your eyes and not have someone else's attempt at forcing their own privacy upon your field of vision?
For freedom! To the death!
Here's the thing. Everybody has different definitions of what modesty is. And modesty is different based on where you are. There are evangelical Christians who think that any shorts on a woman is wrong. There are people that think that women wearing pants is wrong. There are people who think that any skirts that go above the knee are too revealing. And there are some that think that even if you show your ankle, that is inappropriate. Meanwhile, there are other countries where women go topless at the beach, or women just go topless when it's warm out, or women just go topless and it's not seen as inappropriate. It's just seen as normal because that's the culture they live in. It's not seen as sexual. It's not seen as immodest. It's just what women do. It used to be illegal for men to walk around without a shirt on. So if you wanted to start enforcing modesty, whose standards do you go by? Do you add head coverings to that? Because some Christians believe that it's inappropriate for women to not have their head covered in public. Who decides which shorts are too short? How do we police this? Or do we just realize that some people are comfortable wearing different things and it's not their responsibility to control your erection?
If the boner police are here, I demand a lawyer.
Now, these next couple clips I have shown before, but when you saw the phrase, purity culture is violence, this is probably the scenario that came to mind.
We know the whole movement of like I'm not asking for it if I wear this, which let me be so careful with this verbiage right now, because I am not saying that any woman deserves to be assaulted, violated by a man based on what she's wearing. I am not saying that, but
now that is a butt that should be covered up.
I think what I wasn't coming to acceptance with was that I was just going to attract the wrong men because of how much skin I was showing. I didn't want to admit that.
I can't right
I'd be like, well, I can't be sexy and be treated well? No.
Oh, wow.
Allie, actually, no.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because if you're dressing like that online, or if you're dressing like that at these bars, like, there was one time where I had gone out to a bar and a man literally, like groped me. Like, he literally, like, touched me as he was going by at this bar. And I was so livid. But, like, Allie, where are you right now? What kind of environment are you in right now? And also, yeah, what it's the message. It's the message of what we're giving with those outfits. And it's like, you just are going to attract awful men when you dress that way. And so it comes inward first. Like, what am I doing to attract these kind of men?
What you're wearing doesn't cause you to be assaulted. That creepy man assaulted you because he's a creepy man.
Adding her story to this classroom exhibit will inspire others. Clothing representing that worn by survivors when they were assaulted. Christmas pajamas, a Raptors hoodie, sweatpants, and dress pants.
This one is really difficult.
Yeah.
Certain things that we withhold from certainly strangers at the very least, right? Because people are capable of hurting us. If I'm more vulnerable with certain people who haven't earned that trust, then I'm exposing myself to power that I'm giving them that could be used against me.
Everything is blamed on the woman. A man's thoughts are her fault. A man's actions are her fault. If she didn't want it to happen, she wouldn't have put her merchandise on full display. Her body existing is infringing on my rights.
Right? Like if I leave my phone unlocked out in public so that someone could open it up and start, accessing my bank account and my social media and all these kinds of things. I mean, yeah, they shouldn't do that. But simultaneously, it's pretty reckless for me to just leave it lying around where anybody could access it.
Sex is a very spiritual act. That's why it's written in 1 Corinthians. Do you not know that the one who joins himself to a prostitute is one with her in body? So you can only imagine how much of a big deal it is to have multiple partners. Those people that you have chosen to be joined together with are essentially walking around with pieces of you. That is why this is so serious. That's why it doesn't matter if you've lost your V card. Knowing what you know now, why would you continue to join yourself together with someone that you are not in the safety net of marriage with?
Right. Yeah, no, totally. The safety of marriage, because nothing bad ever happens to married people.
And it's 30 plus years of data.
Joe Shannon's job is to track relationship abuse and help end it. Part of the group Violence Free Minnesota that's recorded nearly 800 intimate partner deaths in its history.
There's one every other week so far this year.
But nobody gets a piece of your soul because you had sex with them. And you are not getting pieces of other people's souls because you had sex with them.
And honestly, like, we can even talk about soul ties. Like, the thing is, y'all, like, this isn't, like, before I found Jesus, I just thought that the Christians who decided to wait for marriage and decided to dress more modest and not show off their skin, it was a personal decision. Like, I was like, okay, so they just, like, decide to do that. Like, that's fine. Like, I love Jesus too. Like, oh, I love God too, but I just don't want to do that. It was also just, like, a lack of wisdom that it's actual protection from God. Mm-hmm. It is actual protection from God. He does not want your soul, like a piece of you, to get intertwined with a person that is not supposed to literally live life with you.
And this teaching has caused so much trauma, especially for sexual assault victims. You do not have part of your assaulter's soul attached to you, and they are not walking around with part of your soul. I don't know who needs to hear that, but you are you. I don't believe there is a such thing as a soul, but however you want to imagine that, that is all yours. That does not belong to anyone else.
Kind of how, like, whenever you give yourself to somebody, you're literally giving a part of yourself to somebody, and then whenever you get to your wife, how much of yourself do you want to give to her? So I started to, like, imagine almost like a balloon that you blow up with air, and, like, if you were to blow it up with tons of air, and then if you were to hold it tight, and that instead of tying off purity,
wow.
you have control of it, and you kind of hold it tight, right?
Wow.
And that whenever you may be doing things throughout your life before you're married, you can imagine that you can open it up a little bit and let out some air. Yeah. You can open up a little bit more and let out some more. You can open up a little more and let out some more air. But then whenever you get to your wife, how big is this balloon going to be? Because, you know, and so I kind of... Analogy. I know, I wanted, it's kind of like the way that I saw it, that I wanted to, whenever I came to my wife, I had this balloon that was still just completely full of all the air, and I wanted to completely give my heart, you know.
Britta, how did an apple make that clear? Imagine it expanding. Use a balloon.
I was on my way to lunch.
You aren't depleted when you have sex. You aren't used up if you have sex. You aren't an empty balloon. You aren't chewed gum. You aren't a piece of tape. You're just a person who had sex with a person. But purity culture continues to assign value to people based on how they present themselves and whether or not they have had sex. Just like those fathers who took a dowry for their daughter, they still see a person's value based on their virginity.
It's just some idiot with balloons.
Oh, is it?
And I think just a gentle... I think watch out for women, because it's so many times like, my husband won't help me with this. My husband doesn't help with the kids. My husband doesn't do this or that or whatever. And there may be areas, I mean, you are very good at serving me and helping me and asking, hey, I know you're really busy. Is there something I can do? Or can I pick something up on the way home? But you have to remember, your husband was not called to be your helper. Like, you were called to be his helper, a helper suitable for him. And you are lacking what he's missing. And so I think just keeping your perspective where it needs to be.
So these are the types of clips that cause me to get up and go for a walk. They actually see women as property.
It says, for man was not made from woman, but woman from man. And then it says, neither was man created for woman, but woman for man. That is speaking to this exact reality. It's going back to Genesis. And dude, this is super un-PC.
He just called his wife dude.
And dude, this is super un-PC. This is like whatever is the exact opposite of modern feminism is what the Bible is saying right here. But it's pointing out that God did not create Adam for Eve, but he did create Eve for Adam.
Yeah, because the Bible was written for men by men.
And that's what it's pointing out. He created Adam for a calling, go work and keep the garden. And then he created Eve, go help Adam. So the man, the husband, is primarily oriented towards a calling. And the woman, the wife, is primarily oriented towards the husband and helping him in that. And that's what that verse is specifically speaking to. Now,
I need a woman to cook for me and clean up after me, and somebody who'll do everything I say.
Well, that's just a maid. You want a maid?
Yeah, that's right. A maid. A maid I can bang.
And you've been dating this guy for like 8 years. And you're not married, but you live together and you're doing all the things. It's like when a man is like ready to pursue you, you don't have to wait 8 years to like have that. Like it's like you're letting him have all of it without
actually paying for it.
Without
it's
paying
free.
for it. It's
You're
free,
giving it to him
bro.
for free.
You're giving him a wife for free.
Yeah, he ain't gonna do nothing. He doesn't have to do anything
And
to
that
earn
makes me
it.
sad.
Giving a wife for free without paying for her. So she's a commodity. It's not a partnership, it's about ownership.
What was the defining moment in each of you approached this in your youth where you actually understood that your sexual purity was something that was worth protecting?
Yeah. I'll go first. I know for me, the really defining moment was when I started realizing what it was doing to my marriage. And I wasn't married, and I'm still not married.
How old are you, Arden?
I'm 22.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was probably like 16 when I started realizing that. Because what I started realizing was, I had this thing, since I was a little kid, I've always just dreamed about my wife. And I was like, this is what she'll look like. This is what she'll act like. And this is how our marriage would be. But then I started realizing what those things actually do to marriage and how it compromises every facet of marriage and every facet of love and everything like that. And I was like, I am ruining what I have dreamed about already, and I'm not even married yet.
A teenager who simply has natural desires shouldn't be told that those desires are ruining a non-existent marriage. They shouldn't have to carry that burden. They shouldn't be told that those actions are hurting a potential person that they haven't even met yet. This is how you gain an unhealthy relationship with sex. This is how people develop a trauma response to the idea of sex. This is how people develop a distorted view on sex.
The wife that you end up with, if you decide to be pure, what it's going to naturally do is going to filter out some of those women that maybe aren't that interested in honoring God. Okay, so here's how it goes. If you say to this girl that you're dating, listen, I want to be clear with the boundaries that we're setting. I want to be pure with you. And if she says, what are you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? And she takes a hike, let her go. Fine, let her go. Because if you end up dating a girl that says, no, I'm with you and I want to be on board with you and I want to respect those boundaries, guess what? If she wants to be faithful now, she'll be faithful in 20 years. That's a good wife.
Wouldn't you want someone who is faithful to you because you love each other, you understand each other, and you don't want to hurt each other? And not just someone who has been conditioned to fear sex outside of marriage and fear the consequences of being unfaithful? Wouldn't you want a partner, someone you can talk things through with, someone who understands you and you them, someone you develop trust with, you earn trust with, you earn respect with? A dog is loyal and faithful. A partner stands with you because you're in it together.
1 Corinthians 7:5, speaking to married couples, do not deprive each other, and it's talking about sexual intimacy. Do not deprive each other except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Now, I'm going to say this. You better be praying a whole lot. Whole lot.
Yeah, you better not be lying about praying. You better be doing a lot of praying over there because your husband, boss, needs your body.
Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. That's what it's saying. Let me just lean in on this. If you are married, the only legitimate source of intimacy is your spouse. There is no other legitimate source of intimacy. So let me lean in. And again, I'm going to gender stereotype, but we're big boys and girls, and we can transfer, from your situation. Let me just gently lean in. Wives, here's what this means. You are the only clean drinking water that he can get, and sometimes he gets thirsty. That's what that means.
And another object that they are comparing women to.
So if the marriage feels like this, it's like, hey, baby, can I get a sip of that water? And you're always like, I'm not really giving out that water right now, and it's not your anniversary or your birthday, and it's not Valentine's Day, so I think we're good. That's not gonna go very well. This is saying don't do that.
I know that sounds romantic. Women love to hear that they're someone's only option, so they have to do it. I know that's what all the romantic movies are about. I know you're his only source of clean drinking water is on all the Valentine's cards. I get that. But there's something a little weird about that to me.
Now, husbands, if you're quoting that verse as like a club on you are the biggest loser ever. You've already lost, man. Like, put on a shirt with a button on it, win her a heart, take her on a date. Like, bro, get in there, do something. So here's what this is saying. 1 Corinthians 6 and 7, here's what they're saying. They're saying we need some Pentecostal marriages, lots of tongues and the laying on of hands. Come on, somebody. That's what that means, okay? Now, that's a gentle way to say that. Number 3, lots of masculine applause.
And of course, he tries to save it by saying that you can't use that verse to force your wife to do something, but he's using that verse to say that women have to have sex with their man. So, no, that's what he's doing. Also telling them to put on a nice shirt doesn't make that go away. He's telling a wife that her duty is to have sex with him when he wants because she's his only option. And a couple of years ago, this clip of Josh went viral.
Now, first, let me do this. So let me talk to the guys first. Guys, when it comes to her wedding day, she has been planning this day her entire life. She got her first wedding magazine when she was 14. She draped the blanket around her like it was her wedding dress when she was a teenager. She did the towel over her head. It was a little veil, all the stuff. She's been planning this day her whole life. So here's what you need to do, man. When it comes to that day, just stand where she tells you to stand, wear what she tells you to wear, and do what she tells you to do. You'll make her the happiest woman in the world, okay? Now, I got an amen. Let's see if you amen this. Now, ladies, when it comes to his wedding night, he has been planning this day his whole life. So just stand where he tells you to stand, wear what he tells you to wear, and do what he tells you to do, and you're gonna make him the happiest man in the world. That's it, man. Okay, that was free. That was free.
After it went viral, Josh issued an apology that turned out to be plagiarized.
Words of these megachurch pastors appear close together.
Just need to address a thing before we get going.
Given their churches are more than 900 miles apart.
Listen, while you are turning there, I need to address a thing.
On the left, Pastor Joby Martin from Florida, more than a year and a half ago.
Careless words stab like a sword, and wise words lead to healing.
And on the right, Josh Howerton of Rockwall's Lake Point Church earlier this month.
Careless words can stab like a sword, but that wise words lead to healing.
But I don't think he understood at all why people were upset. He just understood that people were upset. Because that clip I showed you there came out a year after this apology.
You are the only clean drinking water that he can get, and sometimes he gets thirsty.
So he's still basically saying that women have to have sex with their husbands on demand. Of course, yes, they also have to put on a nice shirt. He's still implying that sex is just about the man. He's still objectifying women. And this podcast clip is even more recent than that.
So just remember, you chose one another. You are God's gifts to each other. You're the only person in his life who can fulfill his need for physical intimacy. So marriage is the only way that he can get this. He needs it. Sex is important, and you need to make sure you're having more of it.
Somebody, do you remember early in marriage, there was early in ministry, I asked the pastor, man, I don't know how to disciple people in this area. What should I say? And he said, well, in every church, here's the deal. Your single people need to be having less sex, and your married people need to be having more. Yeah. He's like, there you go. Yeah. That's what you need to help them figure out. Go ahead.
Truth. Okay, so if you want to see some ripple effects in your marriage, first I'd say make him feel wanted. So start desiring him, pursuing him, initiate sex with your husband, just like the lady in Song of Solomon. She gives us an example. So if you do this, it's going to blow his mind.
That's incredible.
So this is your superpower, right? So sex builds intimacy, and it's not a physical thing. I think people think it's just a physical thing, but it's not. It meets a powerful emotional need. It does for women, but I mean, it really does for men. So
in purity culture, your body is a beautiful flower that mustn't be tarnished. Your virginity is a gift to your husband. You are a gift to your husband. And then when you are married, it's about him. And sex is to be given to him on demand. You're his sex doll. This doesn't just lead to violence. It is violence. It hurts men. It causes trauma. It causes messed up views of sex. It hurts women. It tells them how to act, how to dress, what to do with their lives, how to be a sex toy for their husbands. It tells them that they are responsible for the way men think, the way men treat them. It says that you are less than if you have sex, literally less valuable. It says that you have less of your soul if you've had sex. It doesn't teach consent, and in many cases actively fights against people learning and understanding consent. Purity culture is violence. Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it this far. If you know someone who may benefit from watching it, send it their way. As always, I love you all so much. You're the best crew of human beings this side of the Mississippi.
Work, Sky Moon.